The graduation address gives us the opportunity to hear from a distinguished member of our alumni community. And we're very fortunate today that the address will be delivered by Mr. Stevan Premutico. Mr. Premutico's story as an alumnus, entrepreneur and a passionate technology investor stems from his love of hospitality, making a difference and a steadfast spirit of true grit. Mr. Premutico is the founder and Chief Executive Officer of Me and You, the company behind an innovative app to enable patrons to order food and drinks in venues without standing in a very long line. And if that's not a good idea, I don't know what is. More than 500 venues, some very well known, have already joined this exciting and revolutionary future. Ladies and gentlemen, I have much pleasure today in inviting Mr. Stevan Premutico to deliver our graduation address.
Wow. I do think there's an important addition to that, and that is that a very clear disclaimer that I'm a founder and a startup guy, not a public speaker. Chancellor, Mr. Simon McKeon, Deputy Vice Chancellor and VP Engagement, Professor Abid Khan, members of the faculty, ladies and gentlemen, and you. The change makers, the dreamers, the creators, the disruptors, the entrepreneurs, and now the graduates. I know the path to this point has not been easy. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the sleepless nights, the not knowing if you're going to make it another day. But you did. You're here at this graduation tonight, in your seat, and for that, I salute you. Tonight, I just want to share a brief story. It's my story. It's an impossible journey, but one that became possible. It all started when I was 25. I was a director of marketing for Hilton Hotels in London. I had a dream job in a dream city on a dream income. But there was something deep inside that was missing. So I called for a meeting with the top dog of Hilton. It wasn't Paris Hilton. It was a guy named Mike Ashton. He was a 50-year-old veteran. I was a 25-year-old Aussie kid. As I stood there sweating, anxious, nervous, I knocked on a door. And I walked into Big Mike. And as a naive young kid, I said, "Mike, at Hilton we should be doing this and this and this and this and this." And he turned to me and he said something that I'll never, ever forget. He said, "Steve, you're right. But at Hilton, things take time." That night, I went home and I just couldn't sleep. I tossed, I turned, I just couldn't get it out of my head. What do you mean things take time? Life is short, seize the moment, right? And in the back of my head, all I could hear was a song that my father would play to me every day on my way to soccer training. You will be here tomorrow, but your dreams may not. The next day, I was on a flight from London to Madrid, squeezed into one of those tiny seats on Ryanair, like a sardine. I was going for my performance review with my boss, a lady named Cynthia Nobin. When I should have been writing my justification for a pay rise, Instead, I wrote a different letter that day. I walked into Cynthia and I said, I've got to go. She was part Spanish, part English, didn't really understand what I said. And she said, but sorry, you just arrived, where do you need to go? Do you have to go to the toilet? And I said, no, Cynthia, you don't understand. I've got to go. See, the crazy thing was I had nowhere to go. I didn't have another job. I didn't even have an idea. But I just knew I had to go. See, I never wanted to be that 84-year-old man sitting there thinking, I coulda, I shoulda. So in that moment, I did. I handed in that letter and I became a dreamer just like you. Overnight, my life was flipped upside down. I went from living in a penthouse to living in an attic. I went from a big income to no income. I went from working 9 to 5 to working 20-hour days, 7 days a week. From stability to insanity. A couple of weeks later, sitting in a cafe in London, scribbling on the back of a napkin, I got it. I got the idea that it was going to change my life. See, my mind was cast back 20 years to my childhood, where every Sunday I would go down to my grandparents for the big fat Italian lunch, where there would be laughter and food and wine, stories, dreams, and tears. And that's where most of my memories and moments of life were born. So I created a business called Dimmy, which was founded on the premise of bringing people together in restaurants, and it became Australia's leading booking platform. Shortly after I hatched the idea, the GFC happened. Shortly after that, I ran out of money. And shortly after that, everyone turned to me and said, Steve, just go and get a job. 37 investor meetings, 37 rejections. You know how that feels, right? Is my idea enough? Am I enough? One day, on my way to Starbucks, I fainted from working 20-hour days, 7 days a week for a year. I packed up in the UK and I came back to Australia and I gave myself 4 weeks. 4 weeks to raise the money to get my dream off the ground, or to give it up and go and do what everyone was saying and go and just get a job. A friend of a friend of a friend saw something in me, something that nobody else saw. And they gave me the $200,000 I needed to start Dimmy. And in that moment, Dimmy was born. The next 10 years became an insane, crazy roller coaster ride of highs and lows, of ups and downs, of tears and joy. See, on the tin, Dimmy was the perfect startup success story. Kid quits high-paying corporate gig, lives in an attic, runs out of money, puts his parents' home on the line, achieves a big exit. See, Martin Scorsese couldn't have scripted a better story. But that's not the true story. See, the true story is that I couldn't pay myself a cent for 2 years. I fainted because I couldn't afford to feed myself. I suffered fatigue and depression, and not a day passed in that 10-year Dimmy ride where I didn't want to throw in the towel. But you know what? I couldn't. I believed so deeply that the industry needed us. We were fighting for something to help this industry survive and thrive. One day, I got a knock on the door. And it was from the CEO of the $2.6 billion gorilla in our space, OpenTable, based in the United States. They wanted to buy us. The day before I'm due to pitch to their entire senior executive team, they did the unthinkable. They poached my director of sales. True story. I grab my phone, I storm outside, I sit in the gutter, and I called Matt Roberts, the CEO of OpenTable, and I said, Matt, I'm not sure if you know what's just happened, but you've poached one of my key people. And he said, Steve, we're coming into Australia, and we're going to do it with you or without you. I hung up the call. I stormed up the stairs. I grabbed my team and I said, guys, this is it. It's game on. And it was. They threw everything at us. They acquired the number 2 player. They spent big on marketing. They tried to poach all my key people. But history will say that they didn't touch us. See, history will say that Australia became the only market on the planet where they didn't enter, dominate, and win. See, history will say it's because we were fighting a different battle. See, they were fighting for sales and targets and numbers that sat in a spreadsheet. We were fighting for the moments that happened when you broke bread around a dinner table. See, we were fighting a different fight. Shortly after that, I got another knock. This time, it was TripAdvisor. This time, it felt right. And on that day, I sold my baby to TripAdvisor. I jumped on a plane and I went for a walk. Not one of those walks around the corner, around the block. I went and did the Camino Santiago, which is a 1,000-kilometer hike from France all the way across Spain. 30 days. And it was here on this hike that I realized a couple of important lessons. I realized that we can't do this on our own. That we need to surround ourselves with people who believe in us. We need to surround ourselves with people who love us. And we need to surround ourselves with people who are going to encourage us to go just one more day. I also learned that my startup journey was not over. See, when I sold Dimmy, I said I can never, ever do that startup thing again. But it was partway through the Camino that I realized that's who I was. I was a startup guy. And I'm here on this planet to use tech to try and make this world a little bit better. I ask you, what's your purpose? What's your why? What's the thing that's going to keep you going when everything else around you is telling you to stop? And it was here on the Camino that I hatched my next startup, me and you. It's bold, It's beautiful. And to be honest, I am right now, right back at the beginning, where you've got a blank piece of paper, a scratch pad, and it's our chance to rewrite history. Perhaps a little bit like where you guys are today. See, because the funny thing about business and the funny thing about life is that we spend far too much time in survival mode, where you're struggling just to get through day by day, struggling to get from one day to the next. But every now and again, it's ever so rare, but every now and again, something happens that has the potential to change the course of your entire life. See, for me, it was when I sat in a cafe in London and I scribbled some ideas on the back of a napkin because I wanted something more for my life. For me, it was when I knocked on the door of Big Mike because I needed something more from my life. My fellow dreamers, creators, change makers, entrepreneurs, and friends, right here, right now, this is one of those magical moments. This is one of those transformative moments that has the potential to change the course of your entire life. Squeeze it, milk it, leverage it, and make the most of it. Because we all know how much you bloody deserve it. Don't give in. Don't let go. Don't listen to the naysayers. Because we need you. This room needs you. Melbourne needs you. Australia needs you. And by golly, this planet needs more people like you. Now it's your time to go and make your mark. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Wow. Well, Stevan, for all the aspiring entrepreneurs in the audience, that was nothing short of pure gold. It all started in a way because someone told you that a big organisation, things take time. You thought about a more responsive, agile, perhaps smaller organisation. Many things were associated with that. 20-hour days, 37 unsuccessful investor meetings, insane, crazy roller coaster rides, sacrifice, big gorilla poaches talent, fighting back, taking on the gorilla, etc., etc. Now, our graduates today may not feel that they're entrepreneurs. Some may be challenged with that extraordinary speech then and think again, but others won't. But there are a couple of things, Stevan, that you said which I think apply to everybody, and indeed everybody in the room, even those of us that have had their careers. And the first one was seize the moment. Yep, how applicable is that to all of us? We can be doing anything at any time. And it's a binary choice as to whether we waste that time or do something about it, whether it's an extraordinary startup or two, as has been shared with us in the last few minutes, or whether it's just doing something else but extremely well and better than we did it yesterday. The other thing that I'd point out is your time out walking the Camino Santiago. I think all of us, no matter how talented, how many batteries we have driving us every day, do need time out just to reflect. And in the case of Stevan, he had a growing appreciation of just the sheer importance of people, being surrounded by good people, people that actually tell us what the real situation is, as opposed to just being sycophants around us. And again, that it not only applies to outstanding entrepreneurs like our speaker today, but all of us at any time. So again, join me in saying thank you to Stevan.